Pour yourself a cold one.
Let's strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Just got off the airplane like 30 minutes ago and got back home from being in Tampa, Florida for that Bucs-Rams game. One of 4 unbelievable games in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And Emory Hunt and I, the star of this show, will go over some of the lessons that we learned from those games. I'm home, Emory, but you are not. Where are you?
I am in Pasadena, California, getting ready to go attend the NFL PA Bowl, which is this week. It practices kickoff tomorrow, and the game is on Saturday. But I'll be doing 3 days here: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then I'll hot-tail it over to Vegas for 3 days of the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and their game I think is on Thursday of next week. So 2 All-Star games out here on the West Coast. I can't wait to get it going.
Why is the Shrine Bowl in Vegas and not Florida like it always used to be?
They moved it. New people took over the Shrine Bowl, and they moved it from St. Petersburg to Las Vegas. And I was torn because I love going to St. Pete. You know the layout, you know the practice schedule, the where they were at practice, the games. I mean, the practice was inside Tropicana Field, so you didn't have to worry about the elements. It was just laid back Florida atmosphere. So they moved it to Vegas, and it runs alongside the Pro Bowl. So it's good for the players to be out here. You're going to have a lot of NFL teams here. It's going to be at the Raiders Allegiant Stadium. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it differentiates between Florida and Vegas, because that was one of the issues the NFL PA Bowl suffered, is that all these All-Star games were East Coast based. So it was hard to get scouts to come out to California. If you're choosing between California or Florida, everybody's going to take Florida. So now you kind of get a lot of scouts out here on the West Side visiting both games.
Got it. Love it that you are there. You're hitting up both. What would you say, by the way, since we'll talk about it momentarily? We're going to get into some of the guys you're really going to have an eye on at those All-Star games after we dive into the lessons we learned from NFL scouting, from the divisional round. What is the difference between, in your mind, the NFL PA Bowl and the Shrine Bowl? Shrine Bowl is considered a little bit better, right?
Right. It goes like Senior Shrine, NFL PA, and the other minors like the Tropical Bowl, College Gridiron Showcase, like that. But the major 3 are these 3. And you look at the Senior Bowl, maybe day 2 guys with some day 1s sprinkled in there, day 2, day 3. Shrine is usually day 3, late day 2, day 3 guys. And the NFL PA is late day 3 undrafted free agents. So they kind of are tiered that way. Now, granted, there's competition between the schools, between the programs, the bowl games. And so they are trying to get more guys that are going to be drafted higher. And judging by the rosters, this is probably one of the best NFL PA Bowl rosters I've seen. They've done a good job, because they do a great job of getting a mixed bag. You FBS all the way down to the NAIA level and some Canadian colleges as well. And the Shrine and Senior team seem to go head to head, but the NFL PA is slowly gaining steam. And this week, and moving the game to the Rose Bowl, as opposed to it being where it was a couple of years ago in Carson, California, having it here in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl is huge.
I love it. I've never been there. I'd love to be there. I love following you on Twitter to see what you're up to at FBall Game Plan, as well as Football Game Plan on YouTube. We've got a great YouTube page. Footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. Look, it's time to engage. If you're one of the people, obviously, that listens or watches this show every week, then you got to get the draft guide. You know how many guys Emory has scouting reports on that he doesn't actually get a chance to say on the show. Footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. A reminder, I am at Ross Tucker NFL on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/Ross Tucker NFL. And we are at Ross Tucker Pod for all of our shows. Of course, this show is available on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Before we get to some of the scouting lessons, I'll give you one lesson right now. Get the free Fix Finder service at AutoZone. You can troubleshoot more dashboard lights, including your check engine light, ABS light, and service interval light. The free Fix Finder will give you possible solutions for your lights, all backed by verified technicians. It'll even send you your full results in a detailed Fix Finder report straight to your email. So you'll have all the information you need to take on the fix. If you need a little bit of help from a repair shop, AutoZone will even refer you to a nearby shop you can trust. It is the most complete free warning light report backed by technician verified fixes, and you can only find it at AutoZone. So next time your dashboard lights pay you a visit, just get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, Emory, let us start with, I'll let you start. I got 4 that I wrote down that jumped out to me from this weekend that I want to chat with you. Do you want me to start, or do you want to throw one out there?
You can kick it off.
Okay. O-line, man. O-line. O-line in general and O-line depth. Now, I think that a guy like Joe Burrow, as much as I love him, takes some bad sacks. I mean, Emory, he takes some bad sacks. That's the next thing he needs to learn. But the Bengals O-line didn't help him out all that much, especially the right side of that line. They struggled. That's going to be a problem in Kansas City on Sunday. I will be there. So that, and then you look at like the Bucs. Donovan Smith had a bad game when they needed him to step up. You know, with no Tristan Wirfs, Josh Wells out there, it's a notable drop-off. And even like you see certain teams like the Eagles, it seems like no matter how many O-linemen get hurt, they plug a guy in and they can play and play well. That's not the case for some of these other teams. Nowadays, you need 7, 8 guys that can play and you feel good about. So we already know offensive line matters, but watching the Bengals and then the Bucs without Wirfs versus the Rams, who didn't have Whitworth, but Joe Noteboom played really well. Like you couldn't even know that Whitworth didn't play. I think that was one of the things that jumped out to me for sure.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second because that's a great point and observation. The one thing that initially stood out to me this weekend was something that I've said all throughout football game plan's existence, and I think I said it last week on the show. When you watch these games, can you score? Can you take the ball away? To me, that's it. Yes, offensive line is important; it's vital, and we saw that play out in multiple games this past weekend. But it came down to whether or not you had playmakers or you had people that could take the ball away. And you look at Cincinnati, there was far too many guys that can score the ball. And you look at someone like the Rams, guys that can put the ball in the paint. Buffalo, guys that can score, guys that can take the ball away. Same with Kansas City. So the playmakers just were enhanced here this past weekend in a divisional round. Tyreek Hill on that play to get into field goal range. You know, the math checks out. He runs a 4.1. If I give him the football quickly, he can get 20 yards in 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So the playmakers and talent trumps all. And the tied into that first point, first observation, or my second observation, then I throw it back to you, was when you talk about offensive line, and I saw this during the Bengals game. Everyone was saying, oh, all 9 draft picks or however many draft picks the Bengals have this upcoming draft should all go to O-line. And then I thought about it. I'm like, but wait, the same people that are picking these offensive linemen for the Bengals are the same people that put together this team of offensive linemen for the Bengals. So do we trust them to make those picks? And also, to bring up your point about Philly and the Rams, that's the other part of it. You could draft offensive linemen till you blue in the face. Who's developing these guys? Who's getting these guys ready to play? Who's getting those backups or starters in waiting ready to play? And that's more important to have someone that can coach and develop offensive linemen on your staff. And the last part of that is the fact that, and I know you probably agree with this too, Ross, the rosters need to be expanded to where you can have a lot of offensive linemen ready to go, because O line for the most part tends to play the majority of the game. Everybody else has substitutions. Everybody else can sub in and out. They're fresh. These offensive linemen be playing the entire game, or at least 80% of it. And when one steps out for a breather, you notice the difference. So they have to do a better job of expanding the roster. That way you have multiple opportunities to get guys in and out and get guys fresh. But it also requires you to be able to scout, develop, and coach the offensive line.
Next one, you kind of already touched on. Skill depth. Depth at the skill positions. I mean, the Bengals have a bunch of guys they can go to. The Rams getting Odell Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson have a bunch of guys they can go to. How about the Bucs, though, the other side? I mean, it was clear that there was a big issue with no Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown. Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson, either they're not the same, and or Brady just doesn't have the same rapport with those guys. And Brady didn't play great, but I just think you need to have depth at those positions and multiple guys that can make plays for you.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When you have multiple guys go down, and we see the Saints do a good job of this, like, the next playmaker steps in and he's thriving. So it's all about development. They're veteran heavy at the skill players. How much development is going on behind the scenes with younger players? Darton should have been able to step in right away and play because he was talented at North Texas. You drafted him. Why is he not ready to go and be that impact playmaker? What's going on from a development standpoint? Are you solely relying on veteran guys to step in and play? And my point that I wanted to bring up was when you look at the run game, and I tweeted this out during the Titans-Bengals game. If you basically what I was saying, I said Derrick Henry was a play side dominant runner. Which is not a knock. That's just his style. If he gets to the line of scrimmage and, just a yard behind the line of scrimmage or a yard past the line of scrimmage, you're going to have a hard time stopping him. We saw this play out in the game, but you saw what they did when they were able to diagnose that the run was coming play side or front side. They just set a hard physical edge and forced him to stop his feet. Then they just made a tackle at or behind the line of scrimmage. So I've always said this: when you're stopping the run is about attitude and want to. The Bengals don't have the best run defense. The Bills have a very good defense, and we saw Kansas City have success running the football. So, if you want to stop the run, yeah, technique and talent and scheme all plays into it, but there's a certain level of want to that has to happen in order for you to stop the run. I thought the Bengals, DJ Reader more in particular, did a fantastic job in decided today was not going to be the day that they ran the football, and that's why they won the game.
Another one, special teams. Never gets talked about. Nobody ever calls an off-season radio show in March or April and says, we need to draft this guy. Evan McPherson for the Bengals. Are you kidding me with what that kid was able to do? Then, obviously, Robbie Gould, what he was able to do. Conversely, the Packers, how bad they were on special teams. I don't know if that's personnel or just coaching or what, but I think teams need to be more aware of special teams when they're drafting. It needs to be more of a priority because it impacted a lot of these games. Even, Tyreek Hill had that punt return. The punter made the tackle, which is unbelievable, but it impacted a lot of these games. Even the Rams got the better of the Bucs in the kicking game.
And to your point, and we talked about this last year, and which is why I added that component to the draft guide of guys that are, and I put those in notes of guys that I was grading. Like, core special team or core special team. You want to draft these guys so they play a lot of the game. Look at how Trey Flowers impacted the game for the Bengals on special teams. How many times we saw him run down the field on punt coverage and force a fair catch or make a one-on-one tackle in space to down the returner back on the end. So the Titans had a long field to work with. So if you are able to win special teams, it's important. And my last takeaway was from this weekend was, we talk about uh, the clutch gene and can this quarterback win the big game? Can this kicker make this field goal? Man, can this coach not tense up in the moment and make the right call? We saw Sean McDermott, take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands on, some fourth and inches, the 4th and 1. You got a guy that's 6'5", 250 that's running through the defense. Like, why take the ball out of his hands? Or why punt it, And Todd Bowles, I know you live by, die by, but in that situation, knowing you're coming off of a kicker that barely whose range was limited, why sell out in that situation, knowing the guy on the other side has beaten is number one versus the blitz? And you look at the San Francisco Green Bay game, how often when you talk about coaching, Tyler LaFleur, why are you not running the football? You're basically making a game of Jimmy Garoppolo versus Aaron Rodgers game. You only had 10 points. The run game was still there. I felt like they got away from the run. Zach Taylor got bailed out, got away from the run. Joe Mixon was running the hell out of the football in the first half. He went MIA in the second half. So coaching in big moments, sometimes the mistakes hurt you. Sometimes, the team supersedes the mistakes. But, man, you got to be able to lock in. That's why what Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, what those dudes did, Steve Spagnuolo, well, not too much his defense, but those two, Reid and Bieniemy, what they did yesterday was huge. Having plays ready for – no one has a play for 13 seconds, right? They did. And that's where coaching, being locked in the moment, helps you win the game.
Last one, just speed. Like the Tyreek Hill punt return, the Tyreek Hill 64-yard touchdown to tie it up again, or to take the lead again. The McCole Hardman play. It was hard to watch that Chiefs-Bills game and not just say speed is a big takeaway.
Speed kills, man. That's the one thing you can't coach. Either you have it or you don't. And you saw a lot of it, man. And it's not just track speed like the Chiefs have. It's football speed like Cooper Kupp has, to really be able to smoothly run past the defensive back and track the football while not maintaining that, while not losing his speed. Again, man, it matters, man. If you're able to get to point A faster than your opponent is, you win. And the Chiefs showed you having world-class speed at receiver and also on special teams. It hurts you in so many main ways. It puts a strain on your defense, change how you cover, change how you game plan. Speed tends to dictate how you approach the game, and those teams that have it have a significant advantage.
Before we get to some of the prospects for the for the Shrine game and the NFL PA game, I did want to tell you guys, I started taking athletic greens recently. I never heard of it before, to be honest with you, but it's awesome for gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. Used to take a multivitamin like a lot of people do, but this is a multivitamin and then some. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. There's a reason why people and doctors a lot of times recommend taking a daily multivitamin. Plus, not only for me, the stomach stuff. You guys see my press box food videos, okay? I need something like athletic greens to help me out with my stomach. It's lifestyle friendly. So whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, gluten free, whatever, and it costs you less than $3 a day. So investing in your health, and it's definitely cheaper than the coffee that you're probably having every day. Here's the deal. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/draft. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/draft to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Emory, we'll start with the NFL PA game. Couple of quarterbacks. Akil Glass from Alabama A&M, Chase Garbers from Cal.
Yeah, and Glass was tremendous all throughout his career. You talk about someone that won in the spring. His team won the SWAC championship. He won the Black College National Player of the Year. He's 6'4", 215, so he has the size that they look for at the position. But it's someone that is not afraid to work touchdown and check down the passing game, and it's been tremendous to watch his growth and his career. And he has a real opportunity to be the first HBCU quarterback drafted, I believe, since Tavares Jackson was drafted back in 2006, I think it was. Or six or seven, one of those. I think it was six. But that's where he stands right now. He's been that good, and I'm excited for him this week. And Garbers, when you watch on film, you notice yourself saying like, man, this dude not bad, man. He's not afraid of pressure. He's got some mobility. He's got some it to him, some grit to him. And so I'm excited to see how he competes here outside of that Cal offense. And that's always the key for these guys, because you think about Alabama A&M and how much they throw the football in that wide open offense, and the offense that the Garbers was playing in the Cal. You take these guys out of that situation, throw them in a situation with receivers they're not used to, albeit talented, and see how they function, so you can really get a good sense of player versus scheme. So I'm excited to see those two quarterbacks.
Okay, let's get to some defenders now, including a DB from Delta State, Julius Falk.
Listen, when you watch Julius Falk play, you're seeing someone that's very similar to L'Jarius Sneed, who plays for Kansas City. He could play corner, he could play safety. You think about a physical player. He's an enforcer in terms of laying a big hit. He can press, so you could see him being a little bit scheme diverse on what you like. If you're thinking putting him at corner, you're thinking of how Pete Carroll runs his defenses, or how Leslie Frazier wants his DBs to be versatile, or how Zimmer used to run his defense. You want corners that could beat you up. But if you want someone that could play across the board, then Leslie Frazier's defense would be an ideal fit. So I love the versatility of Falk, and I just love the fact that he is someone that gives you four guys in one as a prospect. And he's been on the radar for quite some time. So I'm excited to see him get out here and compete.
What about an edge defender that I know caught your attention from Louisiana? I wonder why. Chancey Manning.
Hey, listen, you talk about great defense. First of all, the Cajuns went 13-1, and they won 13 straight games. So, like I tweeted out before, kids that were born after that Texas game don't know what a loss looks like for Louisiana. So, imagine their life right now. You know what I'm saying? So, that's crazy. But Chauncey Mannack, heavy hand punch. He got George Foreman like strength when he hits you. And he always has a knack for making the big play when you need it the most. So he's more of a power rusher, but has a good sense of timing when to use certain moves and techniques to get to the quarterback. And Gardner is someone that can play across the board in terms of linebacker. I love his ability as a pressure player, a blitzer, because he blitzes with a purpose. So excited to see both defenders, because they were a key cog to what the Cajuns were doing on defense. A lot of people talk about Humphrey, the defensive tackle, rightfully so. He was a big mammoth guy in the middle, 6'5", 330. But these two edge guys and backers were tremendous all season long.
All right, Emory, let's get now to the Shrine Bowl. And a guy we've talked about before, I've seen him play a couple times. I think he's a stud. South Dakota State running back Pierre Strong.
Yeah, he is, man. And you talk about how today's game is played. How can you affect the game in all three facets? We spoke about that earlier in the show, and he can do that. Offense, offense, and special teams runner, receiver, returner. And when you have someone like him that can, is a threat to score from anywhere on the field, that's the type of person you want on your team. This past year, for instance, when they played North Dakota State, his first carry was a 75-yard touchdown run. I want to say it was the first play of the game. So that's the type of impact you have. We talked about this before, how he tore up Colorado State. So for him, it's about just showcasing that explosiveness, that acceleration, that versatile ability within his game this week in front of those pro scouts.
And then what about the kid from Nebraska I know we've talked about before as well, Samori Toure?
Yeah, we brought him up in the preseason, and the reason why we brought him up in the preseason because no one knew who he was. But because I cover the FCS, I knew who he was. This was someone that tore up the Big Sky Conference at Montana, and they got a great grad transfer in Toure. And Toure is someone that has tremendous acceleration. So he's someone that you could see like taking a slant to the house, or taking a nice little turn route and getting upfield and then, housing it. So he has very good explosive bursts coming out of a catch or coming through the route. So he's good on that end. And so when you're seeing someone that thrived at the FCS level go to the FBS level and be a significant player, like he was their go-to guy in the passing game, that's the type of talent you want to see. So it shows you that his talent that you saw with the Grizz wasn't because of who he was playing against. It's because he himself is a very talented player.
Lastly, let's get to a D2 kid, Dallas Flowers from Pittsburgh State.
Love the mascot, first of all, the Gorillas. Probably the most unique mascot in college football. It's a fantastic mascot, fantastic football program. To be honest, they are usually contending for national championships. And just like Julius Falk, I brought up L'Jarius Sneed. Well, for Dallas Flowers, his game and athleticism and everything he does is very similar to Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. He's a tall kid. He's about 6'2", about 185. Fantastic athleticism. He returns kicks and punts. So that tells you a lot about his foot quickness and also his speed. And when you put him out there on the corner, he can play the field side or boundary side. We know the NFL game there's no field or boundary, just playing in the middle of the field. So he can match up against anybody, has the speed to run with them, also has the ball skills. And so when you think about someone coming from a small college, going to the Shrine game, which tells you there's a lot of interest about him, I think he has a real chance to show up and show out this week out there in Vegas.
Emory Hunt shows up and shows out every week on the College Draft Podcast because that's just what he does. Go ahead and check him out on social media at FBall Game Plan. Football Game Plan on YouTube's incredible. And then, of course, this time of year especially, sign up to get the draft guide. footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. Next week episode is going to be epic because we go over the conference championship games, scouting lessons, and the Senior Bowl preview, which should be awesome. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. The keg is kicked. We are all tapped out.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.